Find a seat, get ready to eat, we'll go eat. If you can't eat until we say the blessing, so we have to be quiet. Sometime on the school teacher, you know the drill. Welcome everybody to the 4th annual in year 5 Vale High School Alumni Association Banquet and Auction. Give each other a hand on these real hard. Hey, we're here to do 2 things. 1, we're going to raise a bunch of money for some kids. 2, we want to recognize 3 very, very important groups of people, 2 individuals and a very fine group of men we're happy to have here tonight, and their classmates. So this is really important. I have an announcement. It's about competition. I don't know that anybody in this room is competitive, but let's see. So I had to ask myself, I say, why does the Alumni Association, why do they always ask me to come up here and do this? Surely they're getting tired of it. So I got to thinking, I don't fly airplanes and volunteer my time to write poems like Bobby Lynn. I never sacked Joe Namath, Roger Staubach, or give me a name.
Thomas DeFeater.
I'm going to remember that, Thomas. Like Dave Wilcox did. I never won national championships like Burl Saunders. I don't have a statue like Arnie Lewis. I never ran a school with the iron fist of discipline of Ray Barnes. I wasn't supposed to lick my fingers. I told my wife. I do not have Frank Urago's legal mind or his intellect. I'm not as nice as Gert DeLong, nor do I cook or fish like she does. Finally, I never put together an event with over 1,000 participants that came to Vale High School like last recipient, Don Wayne, has done. So I don't have anything special going on, so it finally dawned on me, I know why I'm up here. I think, and this is where the competition begins, I think I have more black and white Viking blood than anybody in the room. Hang on. See if you can beat this. So for about 80 years is when my transfusion began, in the 1930s. 7 great aunts and uncles on both sides of my family. Both my grandparents, John and Dorothy Jacobs, George and Helen Peterson. My dad, Billy, and my mom, Danny, graduated in 1961. Every aunt and every uncle on my dad's side, every aunt and every uncle on my mom's side, all graduated from Vale High School. I'm not even done with it. I don't know what it's about, but I had nothing to do with it. Maybe though. Then I married a woman, she graduated. Her name is Melissa, she graduated from Vale. Then, all 3 of my kids graduated from Vale. If you think about it, some of you smarter people probably thought, they have more Viking blood than you have. That's right, but they're not here tonight, so who cares? I'm not going to tell you about all my cousins that graduated from Vale. I'm not going to tell you about the double cousins or the cousins that haven't married each other yet. Not even very much. So, I want to know, does anybody have more Vale Viking black and white blood than I have?
Right here.
Oh my God. Where the hell did you come from? Mary Kay, is that you?
Sheffield.
We got another one over here?
Sheffield.
Well, you have to stand up so we can see it. That much Viking blood, huh? Okay, all I want you to stand up. You don't get the mic, okay? So I need all of you that stood up and told me you have more Vale Viking blood than I have. I want you to go out there in the lobby. I want you to fight it out because you suckers are going to be the MC next year. I am honored to be here, and I'm honored to be in your presence. This is a fantastic event. This is a fantastic opportunity for me to told my dad to play turn. I feel like we're getting ready for the football game, and I haven't hit the first person yet, so I'm a bundle of energy. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very, very thankful that the association asked me to do this. I am humbled to be part of this group. First thing we need to do before we eat those, we have some thank yous to deliver. And the first big thank you we'd like to start with, and we're going to call him up here, our sheriff and our president of the association. His name is Brian Wolf. But before you clap for him, I think that if there's ever a Malheur County Hall of Fame, Brian is going to be the first inductee.
Thank you, Jeff. I can think of a lot of other people that will be there long before me. In fact, if I'm ever in a Hall of Fame, it's scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you here tonight. It's a pleasure to see this many people, and there's a reason for that, because there's some very distinguished people to be honored tonight. The Vale Alumni Association has a couple of missions, and the first and probably most important mission is to raise money for kids to go to college on. Last year, just over $20,000 was given out to graduating seniors at Vale High School for their college endeavors. That wouldn't be possible without events like this and the membership dues from you folks, and it's greatly appreciated. Our Vice President of the Association is Luke Keller. Our Treasurer is Bobby Butis. Secretary is Topper Sloop. Director Sandy Meisinger. And Director Dwight Keller. And then, it would take a long time to mention everybody else that is associated with the association. So, I applaud each and every one of them. There are so many names that go unmentioned that have worked hard for even the last month in putting this together. Some of those folks have worked tirelessly, and we appreciate their good work. We hope that all of you will enjoy the evening, and with that, I'll turn it back over to Jeff, and then we'll be able to eat soon. Thanks so much for each of you taking the effort to be here.
So, it's time to eat. But we got to do it in an organized fashion. Ladies first, Dottie. You get to take all of your tables first. And if we could have the football team and their guests head that direction. Yes, Brian?
Education.
Yes, we will. We will. Thank you. We're not going to go yet. We've got to wait for a word. You're going to go first, Dottie. Take all your tables, please. Then let's get all the football players and let's head that direction. Take your families. And then let's have the Mogs go that direction. And if you're on that side of the Mogs, once you go through those doors, and if you're on that side of the football players and Dottie's group, why don't you go to that door? And if you guys see that this line over here is shorter than that line, I'd get the hell over there. Yes. Before we do that, we should have a lesson on the food. Wayne McConnell, where are you, Wayne? Right here. I'll just, you want to come up? You want to come up? Okay. Over here.
Thank you. When Bobby, everybody knows Bobby, when Bobby asked me if I would do this, I said I'd be honored. And so when I was sitting around at home thinking about what I might say, I was thinking about this whole gathering and what it means. It's kind of a two-pronged deal. One is honoring people that have made a difference, people that have gone out of their way, people that have made us proud, people have helped the community. And of course, the other thing is it's raising money for our young people to go to school, scholarships. And I was thinking, this feeling of Vale to help, to fill a need when it's recognized, to really go deep. And I have a story I'm going to tell you. I don't need notes for it. It happened to my family. And I won't take too long because I know you're hungry. But it's only 6:20, so I can take 5 or 10 minutes here. It was a long time ago, about 1950. I come home from school, I was probably 9, about then. And I could tell something was real wrong. My mom had my dad in the back of the old Chevy, and she was waiting for me, and he'd been in a real bad farming accident. Broke his pelvis, broke a leg, broke several ribs, and so we were going to Ontario. Ontario, it's a long way off, but we made it, and he stayed in the hospital for several days. And when he came home, they brought a hospital bed, and he stayed in the hospital bed. He was there for several months, and it was late winter, early spring, and it was time to start farming. And it was obvious that he wasn't going to farm. And this is the part of the story that I want you to maybe remember and be proud of, having come from Vale. Our neighbors got together and formulated a plan. They came onto our farm, they brought their tractor, they brought their time, they put the crops in, they got the water ready to go. When it was time to irrigate, they irrigated, the livestock was taken care of, and when my dad got well and could take care of himself, he took over, but we never missed a beat. And had it not been for our neighbors in the Vale, we probably would have lost the farm. And I think that the story is pertinent for what we're doing here this evening. We're helping others and making a difference. Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, we give thanks for the pleasure of gathering today on this occasion. We give thanks for this food prepared by loving hands. We give thanks for life, the freedom we enjoy, love, and other blessings. As we partake of this food, we pray for health and strength to carry on and try to live as you would have us. We ask this in the name of Christ, our Heavenly Father. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Sam. Hey, this thing could get kind of long, so you're not going to be a problem. If you need to get up, stand back to the room, stretch your legs a little bit while this goes on. You can still listen and stand up at the same time. So please don't feel like you have to sit. I know how that can be. So no, we can't thank the Baker Clan enough. That's just a fantastic job, and we especially can't thank you guys enough. So everybody that was part of that auction, give yourself a hand. How about that? So this is kind of where it gets serious. We got to say nice things about people. We try not to make fun of them, but we shall see. So each year, when I've had the opportunity to do this, a theme always develops. We could say it's about raising money, or we could say it's about Viking history, or we could say it's about honoring some recipients for the Hall of Fame. But what it came down to, because those didn't really fit, what it came down to is family. We have the McLaughlin and Mendiola families. We have the Mogg family. And we have the Viking fan. That's what came into my mind, and that's where I'm going with this thing. So, since it's ladies first, let's get right to it. Dottie Mendiola. When I moved back to Vale in 7th grade, I had my very first lunch, and Dottie was there. I don't remember anything about the main dish. I don't remember anything about the side dish, but I do remember that the cooks tried to get us to eat a canned tomato. I came from Portland and Salem. I looked at my cousin, I go, dude, I can't eat that, I'll throw up. He's like, don't worry about it, drink your milk, open the milk carton up and put your tomato in there. So of course I did it. It was, I've been in Vale for 3 days. It was, I'm already a criminal. I feel kind of guilty about it. But Dottie was washing dishes at the time, and I had to take the tray up there, the silverware, and I was scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get caught with this tomato in the milk carton. So I walk up there, and I kind of see where I'm supposed to take my tray, and kind of walk around the corner to the opening, and there stood Dottie. I froze. She looks at me like, what the hell are you doing? Give me your tray. Dottie, I gotta be real honest. And I'm sorry, Mom, grandkids. You scared the shit out of me. I think I was scared of you in middle school, high school, even in college. It wasn't until I came back in the early 90s and we became co-workers that I found out that she was a sweetheart. I'm still a little scared of you, though. Frank Rockland did the write-ups for tonight's program. I don't want to reiterate everything that Frank had written. I don't want to read it word for word, but I'm going to go ahead and give the list of what she's done in her life as a Vale Viking and as a member of the community. It's going to take me a while. Hang on. So for 50 years, she was a pioneer picnic organizer. She was a lifetime member of the St. Patrick's Catholic Church, and I don't ever remember going to a funeral or a wedding reception when she wasn't in the kitchen running around cleaning up. She was a member of the Vale Bass Club. She helped at the Bass dances. Back in the day, she also helped out at the Hope Dance Hall. She was a member of the Legion Auxiliary for over 60 years. She assisted and sponsored the Girls State Candidates. She was a member of the Lioness for 23 years. She volunteered countless hours in multiple Viking sporting events and clubs. She was the driving force behind the Cook Shack, and every night for 21 years, she was at the Vale 4th of July Rodeo. Finally, when she got into the new Cook Shack at the high school, she got to boss around all the men in there and tell them what to do. Then there was her work in the food pantry. Let's not forget her countless hours at Pioneer Nursing Home. Dottie received 2 prestigious awards. The first one was in 2016, where she was the Grand Marshal of the 4th of July. 4th of July Parade. That's impressive, Dottie. It usually goes to men. The next one was even bigger. I mean, this is, I don't want to say it's way bigger than the Vale 4th of July Rodeo Grand Marshal, but this is pretty big. Dottie was nominated and received the Melvin Jones Fellowship Award in 2001. This is a very prestigious award, and it's given internationally for humanitarianism. I'd like to tell you one more thing. This is where it really gets good. The award has only been given to a handful of women for their work in the Lions Club. I am told that there are likely only 10 to 12 recipients in its history in the world. Now that's something. Dottie, I understand they need a little help in the kitchen right now, but you can't go. You stay here, okay? We're not quite done with you. She raised 3 boys, and likely her husband Larry too. And then it dawned on me she volunteered so much so she could get away from those 4 guys. I mean, come on. Have you met those guys? I kid. If you want a real belly laugh, go hang out with the video. Those guys know humor. I was able to talk on the phone with Joe, Jim, and Jeff. And I asked about their mom. And I asked every one of them, I said, was your mom scared? And they said, no, she was loving. Man, are you kidding? They must have forgotten all those butt whippings. But they all said she was the best mom anyone could ever have. Dottie's oldest son, Joe, tells this story. This says all about her selflessness, and apparently the Mendiolas had a scanner a few years ago. She liked to listen to it. She hears that Ray Belknap's house is on fire. So she looks out the window, yep, there's the smoke. Jumps in the car, heads down there. Now I'm thinking, most 70-some-year-old women that I know run away from a fire. Dottie goes to it. Well, Ray's over there at the house. He gets there, it's like, oh, roof's on fire. Ray's going in the house, grabbing stuff, mementos, paperwork, guns. She basically walks up there and says, what else you need? And so she just starts going in the house is on fire, and she's pulling stuff out with Ray, and I can just see her, she's probably humming. Anyway, the firefighters finally showed up, and they said, hey, Dottie, you probably better get out of there. And she's like, okay. No big deal. Joe also mentioned this very poignant statement. He said, you know, nothing was ever given to my mom, and all she does is give, give, give. Jim, middle child. Sorry, Jim, you were left out of everything. He responded this way when I asked about butt whippings. He said she didn't have to whoop us. One very cold morning, it was a very cold winter morning. The 2 oldest boys were sitting around in their underwear, sitting next to the heat pit. Dottie told the boys, go get your clothes on. Well, little boys don't always listen well. She came back in the room, she noticed they had to put the clothes on or got away from the heat pit. Now remember, these boys were pretty little. Jeff wasn't even born yet. Well, they didn't mind their mama. So she proceeded to grab them by the hand, still in their underwear, and lock them outside. And Jim said it was cold. Moms are rarely subtle with their reminders. As Jim's telling me the story, I'm thinking, you know, likely she left them out there for a minute or 2, you know. I said, well, Jim, how long should she leave you out there? He goes, oh, about 15 minutes. You guys, she was scary. The baby of the boys, her favorite according to the 2 oldest. His name is Jeff. Jeff sure admires his mama. He used these words to describe her. Hardworking, caring, gave good advice, strict. He mentioned something about a metal-handled fly swatter and said she was quick with it too. A sense of humor. She taught us how to laugh and smile. Kind, loving. From 2 of her 5 grandchildren, her grandson Raleigh says this: Grandma's been there for us always, from lunches while working cows to a thermos of hot chocolate for opening morning of elk season. She is truly a special lady, and we love her. Her granddaughter Lily uses a quote from R.S. Gray to best describe her grandmother. The quote is this: she believed she could, so she did. So Dottie, if you don't mind, and Brian, if you could help assist here, I think that your grandson, all the way from Okinawa, Japan, all the way from Japan, would like to escort you up here to receive your award, and we'd like to hear from you. Dottie Mendiola. of you members of the board, can you honor us, please? Oh, here's Brian. Sorry, Luke. Maybe next year.
To be honored like this when all it was volunteer. You get the idea when Sola and Merch say, come on out, we need a little help, you can do dishes. That's what I did. And look at it, 50 years here, 60 years there, 28 years here. Actually, either she can't keep a job, she's actually 180 years old.
See, Donnie snuck a little kiss there. As a business associate or acquaintance, Doug Mogg has continually made a strong first impression. I don't know if you heard that in the back. A strong first impression. It's no secret that Doug has a few irons in the fire, which is surprising. When we common folk bump into him, he acts like we're the most important people in the world, and that is a gift. It also explains his success as a businessman and a community organizer. When we read about life and old age, it is striking when we remember what truly is important in our lives. We toil in our work, we go to bed late, we get up early. Our internal struggle to produce is built into our Eastern Oregon soul. That is why when I think of success in Doug Mogg, it isn't as much about business and community, it's more about friends, family. A friend and his family tell it best. Dennis Butis says in the fall of 1972 or 73, Doug and I went deer hunting. I thought we were hunting four-legged ones, but Doug had a different idea. We ended up in the Grand, and I got to meet his future wife, Terry. That's the longest deer hunting trip I have ever been on. And we've had a lot of great memories over the years, and many more to come. Doug's brother, Brian, he uses these two adjectives: integrity, of which you're going to hear a lot, hardworking, and he also mentions he is a great brother. Good. Doug has a sister named Regina. So I called everybody, called the girls, and said, hey, can you call me back? I want to hear some stories. Well, I want you all to know that Regina, she broke the world record in her age category for number of words texted. I'm not kidding. Watch my thumb. Ready, go. Finally. Nice going, Regina. I say great stuff. Thank you, Regina. I'll make time to include one of your delightful stories. So I told her I'd share one, so I got her. This is a good one. Ronnie and Doug were always busy trapping gophers and irrigating when they were little. When they were deemed old enough, not legally, but by my dad, they had Yamaha motorcycles to aid in their gopher and general riding around. At one point, Dad was farming some land at Tejon Place, I believe, which required a critical diagonal crossing of the highway to get to those fields and gophers. One day, as the two of them crossed the highway, Ronnie's hat flew off, landing on the highway. When the two of them turned around to retrieve it, a state policeman, having witnessed the whole thing, had picked it up and offered it back to them. Noticing their maturity, he quizzed them on their ages. Ronnie said, 14, going on 16. Then, of course, Doug says, I'm just a bit younger. He was 11. Well, that resulted in a ticket for each, and of course, a visit to the Honorable Justice of the Peace, Mary Graham. My mom was having no part of this. She told Dad he would be the parent accompanying them to this visit. Anyone who had the privilege of a visit with Mary was always transformed into a better individual upon enduring her lecture and resolved to be an upstanding citizen henceforth. Doug, you're a good guy because of your older sister. And Mary Graham. So, Doug and Terry have 2 kids. Their oldest, Corey, says this: growing up as a child of Doug and Terry Mogg, I don't think one could exclude either parent of 47 years of marriage. From as far back as I can remember, I wanted to come back and farm with my dad. His traits of hard work, integrity, humility, and faith have evolved me into the person I am today. I have been blessed with the best role model and teacher any person could ever ask for. Kimmy chose these words: I've tried to construct my text to you many times, but a few words or a short text just can't encompass how proud and thankful we are for our dad, both of our parents. From our childhood through adulthood, she says, Dad has been such a good example of generosity, hard work, a man of faith, integrity. I was going to pull all the grandkids up there and ask them, hey, what's Grandpa known for? Terry was nice enough to send me a text, and all the kids threw a word out there. So, since this whole thing is about raising money for kids, if you all kids would stand up when I call your names so everybody knows who you are, I'd appreciate it. So Isabella says, and I'll say it for you, and stay standing, please. Generous. Sutton says, works hard. Kennedy says, funny. Brooklyn says, jokester. Avery, why don't you come on up here? You 4 can sit down, just get entertained. Now, Avery, why don't you, let's find a spot for you. Let's go over here. Why don't you stand up on that chair? Now, how old are you, Avery?
8.
How old?
8.
Okay, now you're going to tell us what you think of your grandpa, but remember this is PG and remember who your audience is, okay? So do you want to hold the microphone? What do you think about him?
I think he's helpful.
Do you wish he would help you right now?
Yes.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Avery. home late last Tuesday night, and I noticed I had a message from Terry Mock. She concludes this description of her husband much better than I. So I transcribed the voicemail, and this is what it said. This is just a side bit from today, October 19th. It's Isabella's birthday. My husband is going to be late for the birthday dinner because of his big heart. And I'm not mad. Or I'm not upset, excuse me. She says, I think this is awesome. A couple of gals ran out of gas out by our place, and he's going to go get them some gas so they can get home. Thank you, Terry. I can't think of a better way to describe your husband. So, Mr. Wolf, if you could do the honors, and if you grandchildren would escort your grandpa up here and stay up here, make him talk as long as possible, we'd sure appreciate it. Doug Mock.
I better get the script out. This is going to be kind of tough. I do have some great grandkids. First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to thank the alumni committee and its members for the $95,000 plus scholarships that they provided to the students over the last 9 years. This has been a great endeavor. These young people that we're helping to get to college, they're our leaders of tomorrow. And without all of you in the audience and the support, none of this would be possible. So this has just turned out to be a great event. I would also like to thank the Gert DeLong family for nominating me for this award. I am humbled to be recognized at this event, and there's more to this than just me. I'd like to congratulate all the other recipients in the past and Dottie and the championship football team for everything, their success. They are very deserving. I have been very blessed to be part of this community musician. Each and every one of us are put on this earth to fulfill a purpose. The journey of being a farmer and producing safe and healthy food for America has been very rewarding for me and my family. I have had the opportunity to develop lifelong relationships in the livestock industry as well as the produce industry. Y1 Farms, which is the farming and feedlot, along with Jameson Produce, has become successful businesses with the help of dedicated and talented employees. Several of these employees are considered family and have been with us for 20 to 30 years. And there's quite a group of them sitting right over here and a couple of tables. Probably most importantly, I want to recognize my wife of 47 years, Terry, for being a bookkeeper and a vital understanding partner in this operation. Just to say a few things, you know, some people think I overmarried, and I'm probably right. But no, she has been a very good partner, and I thank you a lot. Terry and I have been fortunate to have our family, Corey and Kimmy, Mandy, and all these great grandkids that you've heard involved in our operations. These are the best rock picker-uppers of anybody, right? It gets a little old, but they were good rock pickers when they needed to do it. In closing, I want to acknowledge my parents, Warner and Mary Kay Mogg, who left a legacy for my brothers, sisters, and I to grow in generations to come. Thank you.
Couple more thank yous real quick, and then we're on to the football team. So our technological department, Lyndon Yamada, Walker Phillips, 1983 graduate. And what year did you graduate, Walker?
2024.
Oh, you're just sophomore? Oh, okay. Thank you, guys. Very helpful. Walker's my nephew, so I get away with that. It's also a good time to mention the centerpieces on the table. It has been decided at the centerpiece is going to belong to the oldest person at the table. Paul, I didn't say the oldest person here. He's much bigger and he's probably still catching. We want to thank Sarah Rodriguez at Luzettas for making sure they ended up on our table. And also, it should be noted that Mandy Mogg had a lot to do with putting these things together. Her last name used to be Rockland, and we'll call her an honorary Viking graduate. Speaking of Viking graduates, how about we end this recognition with the 1954 state champion football team. I may get a little long-winded here, but I want you to know that this thing's encompassed 80 years. Oh, the memories of childhood when my grandpas would tell me about the mighty Vikes. I was born in 1967. I had no idea who these guys were, but I memorized their names. Tony Arana. What a cool name. That name belongs to a stud football player. How about this? What about a name like Dutch Colossal? I remember hearing that name from my grandpa and thinking, man, I wish my parents could have named me Dutch. You know, I'm taller than Dutch. And about 3 other people. Now, all of this doesn't necessarily start with Dutch Colossal. Gary Camden had his share of tough, hard-nosed football players, and we know those boys emulated their coach, Coach Camden. As Paul Sheffield mentioned, when we were talking about Mr. Camden and his contribution to the Vikings' success, he told me Jerry was the mastermind. Then he asked me, like an educator would, a strongly built house starts with what, Jeff? Well, Jerry Camden certainly built the Viking foundation. It really came together in the fall of 1954 when these players and their coach put us on the map. I had the opportunity to meet Dutch Colosso twice. First time was in State Oregon in 1993. We beat the Regis 35-0. Frank Hawley walks over with Dutch Colosso and introduces me to Dutch. Frank gave me a nice compliment, and I was elated. It's not every day you get to be in the company of Viking royalty. The second time I met Dutch was in 2004. We were in Salem playing a quarterfinal game against San Diego Christian team that had Division I players, big linemen, fast, athletic. You know, we thought there's just no way we would beat these guys. I mean, You know, we thought, okay, we're gonna give them a good game, but, whew. You know, they had all that stuff. They even had more money. They were private school, you know, so they had athletics, money, size. But you know what we had? We were meaner, we were tougher, we were better conditioned, and I suppose that sounds familiar, boys. Well, they gave us their best, and we sent them home to Corvallis. The boys sent them home to Corvallis. I don't know if it was Dutch's age, all the white uniforms we had assembled that year, white helmet, white top, white bottom. We wanted to emulate those Vikings back in the day. Kids were really excited to wear those things. We wore them up there to Salem, and we looked sharp. We looked like you guys used to. Well, I was pretty excited at the end of the game. I like to have the biggest smile. He approached me, and when he got right up to me, about 4 or 5 feet, he just stopped and looked at me. And I'm like, he didn't reach his hand out. He didn't go for a hug. And I realized why. He was crying. Finally, he regained his composure. And he walked up to me and he hugged me. And he hugged me tight. And when he was done hugging me, he said, I am so proud of you guys. So at that moment, 47 years had gone by since he last coached the Vikings. If that doesn't tell you about the internal feelings of legacy, I don't know what would. It was a pleasure to talk to these 4 players on the first state championship team. Paul Sheffield, Gene Bates, Frank Bishop, and Andy Cooper. They told me stories, information. They won every game 100 times. You know how it goes. I was mesmerized. I'm one of those guys that likes to hear those stories. Check this out. Excluding the season before the first state championship, so in 1954, 55, 56, 57, 58, and 59, they won, I didn't do all the math, but between 70 and 80 games. But you know what's crazy is they lost 3. That's a 96%, what would you call it? Winning percentage, I guess? 96%. Then I gave John Kawaso a sheet today, and I noticed on the bottom of it, it said something about a tie. Fake news. Vikings don't tie. If they did, they would beat the hell out of them after the game. I want to thank you guys. You've certainly taught us the meaning of tradition. Judge Roger Dudson is going to accept the award for the 1954 team. Before I call him up, I want to tell you a little bit about his journey. Roger's family lived on 80 acres milking about 20 cows on the west bench at the end of Grand Boulevard. His family was poor, but didn't know it because most of his friends were equally poor, and they all totally enjoyed Vale High School. After graduation from Vale, he put himself through college at Utah State University, working as a butcher at a meatpacking plant. He then went to Washington, D.C., where he taught high school for 3 years in a severely impoverished and recently integrated part of the city. He completed law school at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and then spent 3 years as a Navy JAG, J-A-G, officer during the Vietnam conflict. After military, he spent 20 years practicing law in northern Utah and was then appointed a state court judge by the governor and retired after 30 years at the age of 82. He lives in the mountains of northern Utah with his wife Anita, enjoying skiing, golfing, and his many grandkids. The major highlight of Roger's life, after all that, the major highlight of his life, he writes, was as a 140-pound center on the Vale State Championship football team in 1954 next to a guard named Paul Sheffield, with whom Roger has maintained close friendship throughout the years. Your Honor, please approach the bench.
Thank you. I prepared some comments about the team, and the games, and it's getting really late. So what I'm going to do, as you know, telling stories about football and victories is kind of like telling a fish story. You start out with a 1 pound fish claiming it was 3 pounds, and then the next time you tell it, it's bigger. And these football stories all seem to grow exponentially as you repeat the story. So I'll stay around afterwards, and I can tell you some great stories about Sheffield, Bates, Lorana, and the whole team, and some of the games that we played that were so exciting during the playoffs, especially the Prineville games, where John Wilcox and Motorwick pressured the punter into fumbling the ball, and we came from behind at the last minutes of the game and won, and then went on to win the state championship after that. And some real exciting stories, but I'm not going to tell you those stories now because I think maybe you've heard them before and heard them in a different version. But I would just say, over the years, as we have continued, I was the class president for the class that graduated in the spring after our championship, and we have continued to hold our class reunions every 5 years, and we get back to Vale when we do that, except for just the last few years when so many of us have died and or become so senile. And we have reminisced for years about the school, the team, but the thing that's more important even than all of the football and all of the championships and the things that we take credit for because we started this great legacy of winning state championships. And by the way, I have some great stories about Gene Bates and one-handed circus catches that I'll tell you too if you want to come afterwards. But more important than all of these terribly exciting things that happen in football, we are so happy to be graduates of Vale Union High School because of the tremendous support that we always had in people that followed us to games all over the state, who gave money to the poor that were on our teams that couldn't afford to buy letterman's jackets, and so many things that the people here in this community have always provided. It isn't just the teachers and the coaches, but it's the entire community. And I think your expression of love for youth is consistent with what you've been doing here tonight in supporting the Hall of Honor people like you have. We are so proud to be from Vale, and I think all of you should be proud to be a part of this great community and in being in support as you are here tonight and have always been. We love you and thank you.
With you. So before we go on, Dutch Kowalski's family is here. His daughter Marcia and her husband Jim. They live in Boise. John, Dutch and Ann's son, is with us. His wife Kate, his sons Carson and Colby. I called him up. I told him what we were doing. And he said, I want to go to that. Called his sister, and here they are. Unfortunately, the reason I called John was because I wanted to talk to his mom, and unfortunately, she had passed away in January. I know that Dutch Kowalski meant a lot to you, and I think it would be appropriate for the old coach's boy to come on up here and introduce these ball players that are here tonight. And let's stand them out here in front, and let's give them their medals, and let's congratulate them for the legacy they created. John, you want to come on up?
Well, I have to admit that I'm a little bit like my old man. I get a little emotion. But it's an honor and a privilege to be here tonight. And what a great community. My dad was very proud to be a Viking. I'll get it together in a second. Okay, like I said, it takes me a minute, but Dutch was a Viking from the beginning to the end, and he loved every minute of coaching the fellas. And like I said, it's an honor for me and my family to be here to introduce these fellas tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and let it rip. Any particular order, Jeff? I'm not like Jeff. He's pretty darn good up here.
I think you ought to read it with number, name, position, and weight.
Got it. All right. Number 96, senior end, 165 pounds, Don Perkins. Number 91, a senior left guard, 170 pound, Paul Sheffield. I'm glad I'm more agile than these guys. All right, number 64, senior center, 140 pound, Roger Dutson. Junior end, 185 pounds, number 99, Gene Bates. Sophomore left end, 165 pounds, number 93, Larry Bates. £150 sophomore, left halfback, number 54, Andy Koopman. Sophomore quarterback, 150 pounds, number 77, Frank Bishop. And a senior right guard, 175 pounds, number 65, Lloyd Stone. Do you have a photographer? Or do you want me to take the picture? picture too.
Oh, we missed one. What number were you, Lloyd?
I don't see him on there.
The best player on the team, Lloyd Nielsen.
Second best player, Carlton Fletcher.
Now let's go kick their ass, boys. Everybody done with the pictures? Thank you, gentlemen. Now we've left the table over here. They'll be signing autographs a little bit later. Bobby, what did I forget?
Congratulations.
She says nothing. Well, I guess that wraps it up for another year. Sure was fun. I hope you had as much fun as I did. So get your nominations in for next year. You're gonna need 3 new ones. We ran out of medals this year, so I don't know what the hell we're gonna do. Looking forward to seeing y'all again next year. You guys have a great night. Thanks a lot for coming and donating your time and energy.